All right, what is up, sports fans? We are back for another episode of The Fan and the End. I'm your host, as always, Steven Rychel. And obviously, a few weeks off, technical difficulties on my end. Apologize, everybody. But Ben Troupe, the big man's always to my right. How you feeling today, brother?
But I'm good, man. I'm back on with my partners, man. Let's do it.
And the superstar himself, Mr. Marvin Powell III. Marvin, how are we feeling this morning, my friend?
I'm feeling good. We're a few days removed from that butt kicking we took in South Bend. But outside of that, man, I'm blessed and happy to be here.
Yeah, actually, I know I didn't put it on the list, but I want to let you talk about that one for a second, because before the season started, we talked about this matchup, right? We talked about the rivalry that is in between your South Trojans and Notre Dame. We talked about the people that Notre Dame brought in, but I want to get your thoughts on this one, man. Obviously, it stings. You're trying to climb your program back into that top 5, top 10 ranking, and team like Notre Dame knocks you out like that. So, how you feeling, brother?
Listen, we're in year 4 of the Lincoln Riley experience, and I will admit that USC was not. We weren't operating at the highest level when we hired Lincoln Riley. Our facilities, NIL was something that was just popping off, and we didn't have that set up yet. We didn't have a championship coaching staff, and in his first couple of years, we brought in a bunch of transfer portal guys. Outside of Caleb Williams and Jordan Addison, that just wasn't the way to go about it. It didn't work out great. And now in year 4, after it appears that we do have things set up with NIL, we do have this all-star, coaching staff, and we do have some players in there. We had expectations. You have people this year who are looking at USC as a potential playoff team, and they're still looking at that way, assuming they went out. But to go into Notre Dame, to go into South Bend and get manhandled, to get bullied, to get pushed around, to have this boy Jeremiah Love, he's still running. I think there he goes. There he goes. He's still running. It was one of those. You thought he was Walter Payton out there in 1985, man. He looked good though. Kudos to Marcus Freeman, to be honest with you. This guy has battled adversity as a coach, coming back from losses and back-to-back seasons. He looks good. Lincoln Riley, the unfortunate reality, right now we have the #1 recruiting class in the nation for 2026. Every major service has us #1. And even with those kids, you're still at least a year and a half away until they're ready to really contribute at a high level consistently. So in this NIL era, we're just getting started, but USC fans are definitely fed up and a little impatient. We expected a lot more from Lincoln, who came in. He came in here kind of like LeBron. LeBron was like, yeah, we're going to win 3, 4, 5. Lincoln came in talking about we're going to be the Mecca of college football, And that's what we're waiting for, because that's what we've been. That's what the standard is. At our best, we've been that program. So it was tough taking an ass whooping the way we did, especially in the fashion that we did. I thought that the 9.5 point spread was just way too much. Obviously not, because them boys won by 10, and that blew my mind. But it's, again, we're a few days removed from it. We're going into a bye week, and I wish we had a game so we can kind of get over the last game. But the Trojans still have some work to do, even though I think we are on the right track overall.
And not to be remiss, Ben, your Florida Gators shaking some things up down there. You surprised they let your coach go there?
No. Even piggybacking off what Marvin said, fans cannot be where you get your barometer for news. We are about as emotional as it get, right? If Billy Napier got fired for 3 reasons. Not winning is the obvious one. But Marvin can attest to this. 2 things is going to get you fired more than anything else. The brand takes a hit and the reputation takes a hit. They ain't dealing with that. Because all you got nationally, if you're not winning, is perception. And when that takes a hit, hey, dude, because SC, Florida, Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, Texas. We're talking about top 10 brands. People saying, Ben, you think Florida top 10 brand? Yep. Think SC a top? Yep. And I'm talking about SC, not USC. SC. When you have a top 10 brand and a coach that can't drive this car, I mean, they gave him $21 million to leave. I mean, it ain't like he's gonna be hurting, so he's gonna be fine. But it's college football. The trickle down effect. Arkansas, coach gone. Oregon State, coach gone. Colorado State, coach gone. I mean, it's a bunch of them now. You talk about Oklahoma State. So when you start talking about what gets coaches fired, one, your introductory press conference, Lincoln Riley, you're talking a lot, and people gonna expect that. You left Oklahoma to go to SC. You gave him Caleb Williams, but he came from Oklahoma with you. Heisman Trophy winner. Jordan Addison won the Blitnikoff from Pitt. Now he won that Pitt, came over to SC. At the end of the day, if you're married and your wife said, "Baby, when you get home, I'm gonna have dinner ready for you. When you come in the house, I'm trying to smell for food." Oh, sweetie, I ain't have time today. That's not what you said. You didn't say that. So all I'm gonna say is, when it comes to these coaches, we know what we're looking at, and we know what we're not seeing. The fact that Billy Napier lasted 4 years, and you've had a winning record for 1 year out of those 4, man, the fact that he made the 4 years. So, yeah, I'm not surprised. Now, Lane Kiffin, Key out at Georgia Tech, James Franklin, Eli Drink was up there, Mizzou. Whoever you get, they better be ready to come in and win. Because the days of giving you a year to get it right, that happens for teams that no one cares about. Oh yeah, man, go ahead. Yeah, take time. You can't do it for teams that got real tradition, real legacy. What do I mean? National championships. Players that people still remember from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Most players you can't remember who played for them last year. Like who he played for? No. So, and I will say this though about Billy Napier. To the G5 coaches, the lower level coaches, they're not getting these type of head coaching jobs no more. That's not gonna happen. If you ain't coming from the P4, you ain't coming. And it shouldn't be that way. But hey, one will ruin it for everybody. So hey man, like I said, I wanted it to work out for Billy Napier, but everybody can't be Coach Spurrier, everybody can't be Urban Meyer, just like everybody can't be Pete Carroll. Everybody think they can do what Pete Carroll did, right?
Right. Right.
Pete Carroll went to 3.
Yeah.
3 straight natties. 3.
Yeah.
I'm just telling people, Pete Carroll is arguably the greatest coach ever because he did it in the league and in college. I said the greatest coach ever. I did it in both leagues. Mm-hmm. Now he's back, but now he with the Raiders. So, that's where most careers go to die. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens.
We'll touch on
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Obviously, the big news of this week, at least here in Philadelphia, is the loudmouth talker himself has unretired. Mr. Brandon Graham is official yesterday afternoon that he is agreed to terms to come back here in Philadelphia. Now, obviously, when you look at this Eagles team right now, the one thing that they're in sore need is a pass rusher. Obviously, it makes sense to get Brandon to come back. From what I've been heard, there's been he really didn't want to retire, but was kind of being the leader that he is. Wanted to sit down and let guys like Nolan Smith get a chance to kind of shine and do his thing. Does his return cure all Philadelphia's pass rushing woes at this moment? I'm going to start this one off with Marvin. What do you think? Does Brandon Graham cure the ineptity that is the Philadelphia's pass rush at this point in time?
It's tricky, man, because in one sense, he's a seasoned veteran. He's been to the highest level of the game. He knows how to train, how to condition his body, and if his body's healthy, I mean, if he didn't leave the game because of injury or significant injury, then the reality is his mind is sharp. The game is slow for him. It's almost like he was injured for the last year and a half, however long he was out for. And that's how you can kind of treat it. So does it help? I think when you bring in a an experienced pass rusher to any organization, regardless of what they have and don't have. It's just going to help what you have. You know what I'm saying? Help you make that move, because pass rushing is one of those skills in the NFL that they'll pay you a lot of money to do. You know what I mean? Ask Joey Bosa, ask Michael Parsons. You know, they'll you know, it's unfortunately you don't see guys who are the highest paid pass rushers winning Super Bowls. That's not the norm. But again, just, you know, does it help their team, a team who's already going to be in contention, a team who already is known for the defense, even though they've had some issues in the last couple of weeks coming off of a win here? Will it help? Yeah, it'll help. You know, but I'll be curious to see what he really brings to the table now versus how you remember him when he was at his height.
And what about you? Obviously, we got a lot of love for BG between me and you. And you know, we all know he's a leader. He's a character. You know, sometimes you got to put him on the leash because he just be talking crazy. But what do you think? Do you think he's going to cure the pass rushing woes, or is he just going to give them some stability on that line to get them, a few more pressures, a few more hurries, a sack here?
I think BG definitely can provide some motivation, but if you're looking for BG to be what's going to cure it all, it's going to be a long year, because while he knows what to do, his body is, he's 15, 16 years older than when he first got there.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what, to survive that long in the league, that means you've learned how to play the game within the game. The game slowed down. I've learned how to, utilize my talents, get every inch out of it, every ounce out of it. I think what BG shows is why veteran leadership is so important on a D line, on a team in general. Sometimes you need a guy to say, dude, that's not going to work. Because players sometimes think they're smarter than coaches. Well, I don't think this coach that good. Yeah, but dude, you ain't even doing what you coach. And BG said, I didn't get here, or I didn't stay here because I didn't listen. And I'm not saying the guys ain't listen. I'm not saying that at all. But you talking about Ojulari and those guys on the D line, Jalen Carter doesn't have a sack, and I know he's dealing with some injuries. And while we got guys, doing their best to try to go out there, and put their best foot forward, no pass rush is not sustainable for a season. You can, like, my DBs are only as good as my pass rush. Those guys don't got to cover that long when that pocket is collapsing. Jordan Davis lost a lot of weight, and he looked really, really good, but you got to produce. And I think what BG comes back and says, look, fellas, okay, let's focus on what's not working so we can get to what does. We got to be able to look at that tape and really evaluate what we see. Don't do this. Listen, my bad, it's going to be all right. That don't work in the league. Dude, we got to get it done. They pay us to get it done. So I think it's good that you got a guy like that, because he knows what he's here to do. I mean, he's probably going to come in on third down. He's not going to play every snap. And he's here to provide a boost, a jolt of energy. And I think he can do it. But they also know I'm coming out of retirement, which means I can go right back. I'm coming out, but I've only done it for one team. So I hope that he, number one, too, football shape is football shape. Like, you can keep yourself in good shape, but you know how it is, Marvin. You got to go do it. Football, you got to go do it. I don't want to see no training videos. I mean, it's great, but that's not football, right? Football is putting somebody, grown men pushing up against each other, right? And so for me, I think he gets to go in there and try to provide a jolt to that young D line, because sometimes on a team with big time aspirations like the Eagles, I don't want to be the weak link. And they're not saying that the D-line is the weak link, but if we got to establish what we're trying to do as far as, like, as the season goes on, the D-line going to have to be a strength. We can't win in spite of y'all. We got to start winning because of y'all. So maybe BG will be able to help them do that. But a 36, 37-year-old grown man that's coming out of retirement that had got used to putting his feet up, getting ready to analyze football, you know what I'm saying? It takes a lot to go back. But if anybody can, he can. But they know he's on a clock. So he's on the pitch clock. He's like, look, man, and we had to convince him to come out. Thank God he still got his house here in Philly and he could, get to come to the facility. But we'll see what happens, man, because I think sometimes with a Philadelphia Eagles team, when you're coming out with Super Bowl, people think, well, everything's going to be coached. No, everybody wants to beat y'all. Y'all are the hunted, What my grandfather say? He said the reason why you got to learn to read and write, young man, because until the lion learns how to read and write, they only gonna glorify the hunter. Well, you the hunted. You are the hunted right now. And being that some of these young guys, they know what it's like to be on a winning franchise. They don't know what it's like to have the pressure on them to do it. Now it's on you to do it. And that it's different when I got to do it. It's one thing to say, go do it. Oh, you talking about me? Yeah, you got to do it. So listen, most of these guys don't got an A.J. Brown, and you can just turn it on. A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown. Devonta Smith is Devonta Smith. You don't have that on the D-line. You said your name was Jordan. Your name was Aziz, right? You don't have that. And until y'all don't have all-pro D linemen across the board, so you guys got to play as a unit, I think they'll figure it out. Not because they want to, because they have to. You have to get it right, because if it doesn't happen, they ain't gonna blame it on BG. He just got here. They ain't gonna blame it on him. Whatever you get from him is a bonus. You know, I mean, BG is like Ben Wallace back in the day. Any points he give, he's here to play defense. Any points he give you is a bonus, right? He ain't here to score. So we'll see what happens. I will be watching though.
I'll say this: listen, Brandon Graham isn't the end all cure all for our pass rushing moves. We talked about it during the offseason. I downplayed it a little bit, but you look at what Josh Sweat's doing out there in Arizona right now. Oh, is it 5-6 sacks right now? I'm sure Philadelphia would pay him whatever he was asking to still be here in Philadelphia with those 5-6 sacks that he has. It's rough when you have an opportunity to pay a guy. You're coming off a Super Bowl and you have to decide, who am I going to slightly overpay for? Who's going to be a commodity? I think Josh Sweat was one of these guys that he's been, undervalued here in Philadelphia. Obviously, he was a big part of our pass rush. He was a guy always right around the quarterback. It didn't matter if it was a hurry or rush. He was always around the quarterback. He had a nose for it. So I think you're still trying to replace him. Some of the young guys you thought were going to step up, either injury or just they're not getting the push. They're not getting the hurries. They're not getting after the quarterback for whatever reason. It's making things a lot more difficult. And obviously, we talked about it this offseason. The Eagles defense took the brunt of the free agency hit. I still think you're still trying to replace a Darius Slay out there. People are still being hard on Andrew McCooma. The kid's a rookie trying to figure out Vic Fangio's defense. It's not the easiest thing to do in the world. I think I've only seen a couple plays where it was really bad. Last week against Justin Jefferson, has him dead to rights there on the sideline. Next thing you know, he slips past McCoomba, winds up another 20-30 yards down the field, putting Minnesota in field goal range. So there's still some moving parts with this. I do think eventually these guys are gonna be getting home. We talked about at the beginning of the season, the Eagles had the toughest first half schedule in the NFL, so to speak. They're through that, and they're 5-2. It could be a whole lot worse. I mean, obviously, outside of last week, the 2 weeks prior to that, the whole world was falling down here in Philadelphia. The offense is the worst offense in the world. They can't do this. They can't do that. And then Jalen goes out there and puts out a perfect passer rating. One of two quarterbacks to throw for 300 plus yards with under I think it was under 25 attempts. I think he only had 23 attempts when Sunday's games ended. So everything's not as bad as it seems, but I'm still feeling for Marvin down there, watching what's going on down there in the Jet side of the world. So that being said, week 7, I think one of the bigger news was, obviously, we seen the Giants cough up a more or less a 3 touchdown lead in less than 5 minutes is probably one of the unexpected things. And getting to my next point, having Mike Evans breaks his clavicle, and his streak of 11 straight years with 1,000 yards received is going to be broken. I think the only one that has had that many consecutive years with 1,000 yards or more is Jerry Rice. It's going to be weird not to see Mike out. He's been the the consummate of consistency down there in Tampa Bay. Obviously, outside, prior to last week's game, they were they were the number one seed in the NFC if playoffs had started last week. So the question is, how bad is that injury going to affect Tampa Bay, and do you think they'll still be one of these top 2 or 3 teams in the NFC moving forward? Let's start this one off with Ben.
I mean, it's gonna hurt because Mike Evans, as you mentioned, I mean, he's there for more than just what he provides, on the field. I mean, he's gonna do what he's supposed to do, be where he's supposed to be, and outside of Jerry, you don't find guys that consistent on a team that didn't really have it has a different culture now. When he first got there, it didn't have that. He was still very, very consistent. He's had some different quarterbacks, but I think the thing about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers is it's the play of Baker Mayfield. The way he's playing right now, he's playing out of his mind. The only thing I would tell Baker is caution Baker is this. You still 6 feet, 200 pounds, man. You can't play reckless, abandoned football. You have to slide. I know he plays a certain way, but they're going to catch you. The NFL is not about if, it's when. When they catch you, you might not get up. And that's the thing that he got to know, hey, you ain't had Chris Godwin all year, and Emeka Egbuka, I mean, he probably got hurt last week. And I don't like this. Mike Evans breaks his collarbone. He might come back. He's done. What is he going to come back at the end of the season and get? What? I don't like that you do that to the fans. That's a 30-something-year-old collarbone that probably was wanting to break 3-4 years ago. Hey, man, I done gave out now. So now when they open him up, they're going to realize, dang, man, you got him more. Yeah, I got a lot more damage in here when you open me up. Just say he's done. That's like Joe Burrow. He's going to miss 3 months. There's only 3 months left in the season. That's the rest of the year. But I get it. You want to keep hope alive. But if you talk about this Bucs team, they're in a division that's very favorable, NFC South. And as long as they ain't playing the Detroit Lions, I think they got a shot to be really, really good in the NFC. That's, like I said, it's going to be a fight to the finish when you look at some of these teams around the NFC. But Baker Mayfield is playing really, really well. The defense plays complementary. That secondary can be had at times. But something I want to say about your D-line, not to compare him to him. Aiden Hutchinson does not lead the league in sacks. When you look at the way he rushes, you want your D-line to say, look, dude, I put pressure on these quarterbacks. They can't sit there. Now, that dude's motor is a little bit different. That guy got a motor for 10 players. But, yeah, man, I think Tampa will be fine. That's what happens when you got the best culture in football. You can lose key players like Mike Evans, like Chris Godwin, like you start running back, Irving, and you're still winning. The other teams in the division, they hoping that the best team is not that good, which they usually are, and that they can find a way to, to keep pace. And I will say this about your Jets, Marvin. I don't like what Woody Johnson. I like what Woody Johnson said about Aaron Glenn. I don't like what he said about Justin Fields because you don't got to do that. We know how you really feel, Woody, but you an owner. Come on, man. Because if he starts winning, which I hope he does, then what? You see what I'm saying? So any team that's not winning has one thing. All the teams that don't win have one thing in common. They got a culture problem. You got to get your culture right. You get your culture right, watch what happens. And this is coming from an ex-Tennessee Titan to where there is no culture in Nashville right now. There is no culture anywhere to be seen in Nashville right now. So, and it took me a long time to realize that culture will outlast coaches. You don't believe me? Mike Vrabel just stepped in. I thought New England didn't have a culture. Oh, they did. Oh, they did have a culture. He just had the wrong coach. See what I'm saying? So get your culture right, everything, because I do want to see Aaron Glenn win. I want to see him win in the worst way. You just got to practice patience. It is not Aaron Glenn's fault. It's not. Rex Ryan, was it Aaron Glenn's fault when he was there? Oh, that's right. And he had Mark Sanchez, SC. So I just think they get your culture right. You got a shot at getting your team right. You will not get your team right before you get your culture right. It will not happen in that order. And that's what I think GMs get in trouble with. They want the team to get right. Get your culture right. Bring the team in. Bring your coach in. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. I mean, because you think Todd Bowles is a good coach? I know he got a good culture. I'm just telling you, I think Todd Bowles is a good coach. But with that culture, even Baker Mayfield can't mess it up. Uh-huh. That's how good a culture is. So we'll see. We'll see.
What about you, Marvin? What do you think the impact of Mike Evans being gone effect is going to have on Tampa Bay?
Listen, I got a special place in my heart for Mike, without question. The NFL is full of stories of guys who've overcome tragedy and trauma, and the NFL has been a saving grace, and it's been such a blessing in so many men's lives. Mike Evans is no different. This is a guy who, starting out the gate, lost his dad to a tragic story, family situation, well documented, and great career at A&M, great player at A&M, and he's in the same conversation as Jerry Rice. That's all you got to say. You're in the same conversation as Jerry Rice, arguably the greatest football player to ever put it on. Mike Evans has been doing it in the Baker Mayfield era. He was doing it in the Tom Brady era, and he was doing it before Tom Brady got to Tampa. He's been that guy who Tampa has always counted on the outside, and he's been prolific. I mean, he's played at a high level, big 6'5" receiver who plays big, plays strong. You missed that. You can't just go, get that next door. You know what I'm saying? So this guy and his consistency and his, and what he brings to the table is definitely going to have impact with Tampa, and guys are going to have to step up. I don't think you step up to replace a guy like that, but you're going to have to figure it out. Everybody's getting paid. Everybody has a job to do. And in the NFL, baby, it is next man up.
It is definitely the next man up. They are thin at wide receiver down there in Tampa Bay. I hopefully it doesn't affect them too much. I would hate to see that. Obviously I had Tampa as one of my teams. I think it was I see them as the divisional playoff type team. Depending on who they match up with, if they could potentially have an opportunity to be in the NFC title game. But with all these injuries at these playmaking positions, you got to wonder what they're able to do. As Ben was sitting there saying, outside of running into the Detroit Lions, but even at this point in time, you think the team currently constructed could beat the Green Bay Packers? I don't think so. I mean, I see them beating somebody like Seattle. I think a team like the Rams could also beat them, but it's really on Baker Mayfield. We've seen him, pull a rabbit out of a hat multiple times over these past few seasons. I think he's really come into his own. We talked about it on the show a few weeks ago. You got to put some respect on Baker's name, on his name. He's been doing a lot since he got down there in Tampa to make people forget Tom Brady was there and then took him to a Super Bowl within the last 5 years or so. So hopefully it doesn't knock them down too much, but it's definitely something you got to look at. And speaking of looking at things, obviously we're through the first quarter of the season, and this is what the playoff picture looks like. We were talking about as the season started, Green Bay is one of those teams that should be up there. The fact they have the tie with the with the Cowboys, that basically gives them the de facto number one seed at this point in time. But who is the real surprise on this list? We talked about the possibility of Kansas City not making the playoffs. Obviously, if playoffs started right now, they would not be in. It has to be the Indianapolis Colts, right? Or they have to be the biggest surprise, or is what Vrabel's doing down there in New England is kind of the big surprise at this point in time. I think when you look at things, San Francisco bouncing back, looking like the number 2 or 3 seed in the NFC isn't that much of a surprise. The rest of the side of the NFC is kind of what you would thought you would see, but as far as the AFC, I think that there's that and the fact that playoffs started this week, the Jacksonville Jaguars would be the 7th seed is impressive, but I don't think it's more impressive what Daniel Jones has done with being given the reins down there in Indianapolis. Let's start off with Ben on this one. What's your biggest surprise for the first quarter of the season?
Oh, the two things that stand out the most is who's on the list and who's not on the list. I mean, Daniel Indiana Jones, let's call it what it is. He told the Giants, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be here. All right, go. Now who has the last laugh, right? And I get what's going on with Jackson Dart and Scatterboo. But he's saying, I just need to find the right spot. This ain't the right spot for me. All right. And in the offseason, he sat around and said, where do I want to go? He said, I want to go to Indy. I think I can beat out Anthony Richardson. We don't even talk about Anthony Richardson. We ain't even talking about him. That's how good Indiana Jones is playing. But this is about an omission. Kansas City ain't even on that list. Think about that. Kansas City, which we just put them in the AFC Championship every year the last 5 years. Every year. Now, I'm not saying they won't be there because, they got Rashae Rice back. They getting their swagger back. But I just think that the NFL is catching up. I'm not saying you're going to win like Kansas City, but you got to have a quarterback, you got to have a play caller, and you got to have a team. That's what Indy got. Indy got the best running back in football this year. Love you, Saquon. Love you, all these running backs, Josh Jacobs, Derrick Henry. Jonathan Taylor said, have y'all forgot? I'm him too now. And that's, Tyler Warren. Who could have got him? Chicago. But they passed over him. They got the tight end, out of Michigan. And when you look at what New England is doing, New England, Mike Vrabel said, do y'all remember me when I was in Tennessee? Remember when Tennessee had the number 1 seed in the league, not just the AFC? And I think that's what's scary is with a guy like Mike Vrabel, he just needs to land a spot. Tennessee do dumb stuff like let Vrabel go, let AJ Brown go, let Derrick Henry go. Yeah, let your culture go. What's up, Cam Ward? What's up? Congratulations. What's wrong with this car? Why is this car smoking? Oh, don't worry. It'll take you where you need to go. It's been smoking. Listen, it's smoking for 20 years. But it runs good. It just shakes a little bit. When you go to 60, when you get over 60 on the interstate, take the back roads. No, I'm very surprised and impressed by New England. I'm very, very impressed by the Colts. And I'm still really, really impressed at what Green Bay is doing in a division that's going to be rough. That division going to be rough. The Detroit coming. Chicago is on a 4-game win streak. Hello. Caleb Williams, welcome to the party. And, but it is only week 7. Right now it's looking real good. We going to see if Kansas City going to make themselves back because, they're not going to go quietly into the night. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is allowed to not make the playoffs. Like, what? Come on, man. We won't do that. I don't care if I am 30 years old now, but that list is very, very impressive right now. I like the way the Colts are playing. They are the class right now. Pittsburgh is on that list right now. Porter, Darius Slay, what's his name? Jalen Ramsey. Y'all gonna have to play better than that. What is the game plan against Cincinnati? You got to stop. What's that guy's name? Jamar Chase. He wears number 1. He just caught another pass. While we on this podcast, it's just. But that's why I'm a fan of the sport. That's why I love it. I think just watching the unpredictability of football is why we watch, right? And right now, if somebody would have told me Indy would be the class of the AFC South, I would be like, what? But when they got a full team going on and they're dealing with injuries too, it's not showing up because they still winning. And I know no one wants to talk about it. The Broncos are a scary team because no one expected Bo Nix to be good. Let's just cut. What? And they went. Now, I'm not saying they're going to score 33 points in one quarter unless they're going against the Giants, which I don't think we're making a big enough deal about that. 33 points? Which, hey, listen, Demaryius Thomas, man, baby, may he rest in peace. He's from Dublin, Georgia. I'm from Swainsboro, Georgia, about 30 minutes from each other. The fact that Baby died when he was 33 and they scored 33 points on the same day on the 10-year anniversary of 2015 Super Bowl winning champs, I don't believe in conspiracy theories.
On the day that they're putting him in the Ring of Honor, I think that was just just, as they say, the NFL story writers got that one right. You know what I mean? It's just that was an incredible coincidence, and that needs to be talked about more. I with what I see from this is obviously Kansas City's the big one on there. We talked about this before the season started. This is Super Bowl or bust for the Baltimore Ravens, and they look like they're going to be in a top 5 pick in this year's draft right now. They can't do anything right now. I think Baltimore is probably the biggest surprise. Obviously, me and you'd already talked about it before the season. We felt that Daniel Jones would do well in Indianapolis. It was just a matter of time before Anthony Richards got himself hurt and got himself out of that start role, and Daniel Jones would do. I mean, outside of me, you, and Saquon Barkley, no one thought that Daniel Jones would have a bounce back season. I think if he continues along the lines he should be, quote unquote comeback player of the year. I know there was no injury, but it's an injury just being in New York. At sometimes you just got to ask Marvin. But Marvin, what's your biggest surprise so far of this season? Obviously, we put the playoff picture out of there. There's been some great performances through the first quarter of the season. What's catching your eye?
Without question, it's the Indianapolis Colts. I mean, listen, this is a quarterback's league, quarterback-driven league. You don't have a quarterback, then you ain't going to be able to go. Something has to change with how we evaluate these quarterbacks. How, I don't know if we have to do something in the CBA where we add – a spot where we allow them to stay on that team that drafts them, because, you look at a guy like Baker Mayfield, number 1 pick in the draft. It was controversial. It was a controversial pick, I think. Bounced around. People thought he was trash, kicked out of kicked from 3 or 4 teams. Now he out here balling. My man, Sam Darnold, Trojan, Jet, again, a guy who they said he was a bust, overrated, this and that. Guy had a career year last year, you know what I mean? And the Seahawks put up 27 points the other night against a pretty good Houston Texans defense. I think with Daniel Jones, this is a guy who, again, was in New York, bounced around a little bit, out here balling right now. And it just tells you some of these guys need time. Some of these guys need time. Drew Brees came out the other day and said I think he was on Cam's show, and he said that a quarterback needs 50 quality starts between college and the pros before you can really evaluate them to see what they have. And when you look at Baker, I bet you he didn't have 50 quality starts. Maybe he does now. Sam, Daniel Jones. I mean, listen, that position is different than fullback. It's different than tight end. It's different, from defensive tackle. And, you get these Pat Mahomes and these Lamar Jacksons who do come in, and within 3 years, they're MVPs, Super Bowl MVP, league MVP. That's an anomaly. That's really not the norm. You know what I'm saying? For them to come out and ball at a level like they did. And they were still considered raw. Well, at least Lamar was, but he won an MVP when he was raw. You know what I'm saying? So the biggest surprise is the Colts. It's Daniel Jones. It's realizing that these GMs and quarterback guru coaches, they don't know what the hell they're doing, most of these guys. I think, honestly, and I know Caleb struggled last year, but it's easy to look at a Caleb Williams or an Andrew Luck or a John Elway and some of these guys and be like, yeah, I can see that kind of translating or whatever it may be. But some of these guys, you don't know what you got until you've seen enough of it, until you put them out there. And that's what we're seeing with Daniel Jones. And, and I'll tell you another guy, before we get off of this, Houston Texans, number 1 overall draft pick, Carr, David Carr. I'm convinced that dude was not a bust. He just went to the worst team in the history of the NFL. And, he made a 10-year career out of it. But again, where you're drafted, who drafts you, and who's able to develop you and really invest time in you matters. And we're seeing it with Darnold. We're seeing it with Baker. We're seeing it with Daniel Jones.
I agree with everything you said there, Marvin. It's, quarterback is really a fickle thing, but also you have to have the right coach, the right GM, the right tools around the guy. If you're gonna draft what you would consider a franchise quarterback, and you don't have a good running game, you don't have a good offensive line, you don't have a wide receiver or tight end that he can rely on, they're going to fail. They're going to get gun shy, and they're going to make mistakes. And then way we have it in this league is everything falls on the quarterback. So I definitely agree with you there. But I mean, other than that, there are no surprises. We're through the first quarter of the season, and I think we're in for a real crazy November and December. I want to get as we're talking about the quarterback position, again, obviously the heavens were falling, 2 weeks ago here in Philadelphia, as you have a rough loss to the aforementioned Denver Broncos, but the unthinkable on a short week, on a Thursday night football, the Eagles don't show up against the New York Giants, and made Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterby look like the the next coming down there in New York. They got a spark going on right there. I think that that they did hit on those draft picks. I think those guys are exciting guys for the New York Giants. I don't think they're more than a 6-7 win football team, regardless of what they have there. Obviously, as we were talking about, giving up 33 points to the Denver Broncos in the fourth quarter of a football game that you were handily winning leaves a bad taste in your mouth. But obviously, back to the Jalen Hurts thing. Just they love to throw everything they can at this guy. Everything's his fault. He can't do this. He can't do that. He went into a game last week against the best passing secondary in the NFL at that point in time, and lit him up for 3 touchdowns. I think Devontae Smith had a career high in receiving yards, and he had a perfect passer rating. And Ben had kind of touched on this multiple times through the offseason. Jalen Hurts isn't the media darling. He isn't somebody that they love and they've fallen over. And I seen this graphic and I absolutely had to put it up, man. When it comes to Jalen Hurts, it's like, did they win? Yes. Okay. Good stats, bad stats. He's carried. It's his fault. I mean, there's every excuse when it comes to the sun under it. But in my opinion, at this point in time, it doesn't matter if he gets the national love. He's probably the most grounded superstar at the quarterback position that we've probably seen in more than 20 years. He doesn't care how it looks, what the stats are, how many touchdowns he has, he does 2 things very well. He protects the football. We talked about this last night. Protecting the football as a quarterback is probably one of the more underrated stats that we don't keep, and winning. And he does both pretty well. I mean, I think he over the past season and a half, I think his last 400 attempts, he's only thrown 2 interceptions. You got to protect the ball. You keep the ball in you don't give the defense your defense on a short field. And you put the ball in the end zone, no matter how it is, if he's running it, if he's throwing it, whatever he does to put points on the board, he does that for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think he wound up being in probably one of the perfect situations with what they have currently constructed, having A.J. Brown, having Devontae Smith, having a Dallas Goedert, having a Lane Johnson there, having a Jordan Mailata there. Obviously, I think probably if you ask me, the biggest problem in Philadelphia is you haven't gotten the line play that you've gotten the past few seasons out of these guys, whether it be injuries, whether it's they're feeling Mekhi Becton being missing, whether it be whether it be Cam Jurgens that's still feeling that back injury from the all season. I think that's probably the bigger thing, but I don't think he if you're a Philadelphian, just accept the fact that he's not going to get the national love, and that he is probably the best quarterback that we've ever seen here in Philadelphia. No disrespect to Randall Cunningham, Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb. He just does those things that those guys couldn't quite do: protect the ball and win the big one. Let's start off with Marvin on this one.
Well, when you list great quarterbacks in Philly, don't forget about my boy Rodney Peete. Okay, Rodney.
I don't, man. And listen, I love Rodney. I'm gonna say this. I did not get why they let him go at the beginning of the Railroads era. Yeah. They had to usher in a new quarterback. When Randall left, I don't get why they had to be so quick to let go of Rodney Peete. And I don't know if you've seen this. Did you see he was at a Dodgers game and actually caught a ball barehanded from the left fielder there?
Yeah, I didn't see that. His son works for the Dodgers, so him and his girl, him and his wife, him and Holly are always at the Dodger games.
Yeah,
Listen, man, Jalen Hurts. You got a lot of people probably like me and a lot of other football fans who could be petty. Listen, you ain't looked at him the same since Tua took his position, back in Alabama. Ever since then, a lot of people probably saw. Really, I'm serious. Probably put him in that second class conversation, and then in the NFL, I've told you before, Steve, his style of play. If he gets a statue in that stadium, it'll be him under the center doing the tush push, you know. And I know he just had, you know, his 23 completion or attempts and his perfect passer rating, but it's the style of play. Something about him looks backyard in a way that turns people off. I don't know why. You know, I agree. This is a results-oriented industry, and this guy, when you look at his record, you look at some of his numbers, I mean, it's unbelievable. You know what I'm saying? You would think this kid's going to the Hall of Fame based on some numbers and some metrics, you know. But again, when you watch him play, it doesn't, for me, and I'm just admit, it doesn't look as smooth. It's just something about it, man. I don't know why I have this thing with him. Again, I admit that, you know, when I saw Tua coming there in Alabama and win that national championship, you know, I kind of wrote off Jalen Hurts at that point, and lots happened since. I know he's come back from that since. I know it was great with Lincoln Riley, came in second in the Heisman, second-round draft pick, and Jalen's been balling, man. He has been balling in the NFL. That's what the numbers say. But, you know, like I said, for him, it's just something about his unique one-of-one style of play that I think people look at him different, look at him crazy. And also, I think, you know, you're right. He shows tremendous emotional intelligence. In my opinion, I think he does. Because that Philly media, y'all is brutal out there. You know, y'all is brutal. And I think for the most part, he's always cool, calm, and collected. He emphasizes leadership all the time. And that's what I really love about him. I really think that he emphasizes leadership all the time. And he's playing the game and winning the game cerebrally. You know, and I see that and I feel that. But, you know, to me, he's just an ugly quarterback who gets it done. You know what I'm saying? And it's just something about that is just not right. I don't know, man.
He wins pretty when he has to. If you really think about it, the last few weeks, right? He you know, outside of the Giants game, right? Obviously, I think that was probably his. We've sat there and we you know, you've seen Nick Wright throw everything but the kitchen sink at Jalen Hurts is the reason why he's not this. But apparently last Sunday was his best performance as a quarterback, as a professional, and I don't see that. I see that he took advantage of them completely taking away Saquon Barkley in the running game altogether, and then you know him absolutely abusing his former teammate, getting him biting on double moves and throwing the ball all over the place. I think we talked about it before. I think he is one of the more underrated guys of throwing the deep ball in the NFL. And when he's able to direct his guys in that way, he hurts you, and he hurts you big. We've seen it as they close the game out, the big play to AJ Brown to seal off that game, the 79-yarder to Devontae Smith, you know, and then we go back to the Super Bowl. I still think that his first Super Bowl win is probably the best performance. I get it. When you have a perfect passer rating, everyone wants to fawn over that. He had a great game when they absolutely had to have him passing the ball down the field. He looked tremendous doing it. I don't care anymore what Nick Wright has to say, what Callan Cowherd has to say, what Craig Carton has to say. I don't care about what these national media heads have to say anymore. I know who he is as a quarterback. I know who he is as a leader on this team, and I'm going to ride with him until his body physically says he's done and he hangs it up. I think he's proven that in his first 5 years in the league. He had to deal with the Carson Wentz situation when he first got here, when they were putting him in at running back and having two quarterbacks. He's been through all kinds of that nonsense. You know, he's earned the right to have a bad game here and there, to have a bad stretch. He bounces back just like better than a lot of these other guys do. When we talk about that emotional intelligence, his football IQ is out of this world. I'm not sitting there saying he's going to make all these pretty throws. He's not going to look like Joe Burrow. He's not going to look like Justin Herbert. That's not who he is, and you shouldn't want him to be that. It's those other intangibles is what makes him special. So why do we want to try to put him in that box as a quarterback when he clearly excels when he does it in unconventional ways? Ben, I know you're going to have something to say on this. Let's pass it over to you. Obviously, we've talked about this ad nauseum over the past year, but obviously it's got to be brought back again because obviously, perfect passer rate. Now his haters are back sitting there saying that that was his best performance as a professional. Do you agree with that, or are you still going to the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, I could agree. It could be one of his best regular season performances, but I think when I looked at the top, who has the most wins since 2020 because he got drafted in 2020. Pat Mahomes is 1, Jared Allen is 2, Josh Allen's 2, Jared Goff, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. Then you got Herbert, Rodgers, Stafford, Mayfield, and Burrow. What do everybody on that top 10 list have that Jalen Hurts don't have? They were first-round quarterbacks. He's a second-round pick. And sometimes people don't expect the second-round pick to outdo all these dudes. Joe Burrow, number 1. Jared Goff, number 1. Right? Baker Mayfield, number 1. Aaron Rodgers, first-round pick. Matthew Stafford, number 1. Patrick Mahomes, number. He got drafted first round. He's outplaying these dudes because what Jalen Hurts is, he's built for Philly. People don't know what it's like to be the starting quarterback for Philly. They don't know what you have to go through when you're the starting quarterback for Philly. Only people like Rodney Peete. You talk about Randall Cunningham, Donovan McNabb, Matt Barkley from SC. He was there. He was. It's just Mark Sanchez. You can talk about Michael Vick. This is what Jalen does. Jalen says, I am so mad. Why? Because I won't give you no sound bites. Because I won't do no TikTok dances. No, you mad because I can beat all your guys. That's what you don't like. Ask Patrick Mahomes about me. Ask Lamar Jackson about me. Ask Joe Burrow and them about me. Ask Josh Allen and them about me. If I'm not him, why so critical? Didn't Drew Brees had something to say? Kurt Warner had something to say, right? And Jalen said, Drew Brees, how many Super Bowls you went to? Because I've been to 2. You went to 1, didn't you? Yeah. Okay, I got it. I mean, when you talk about, all these people that have something to say about Jalen, no, he is a media darling. Because everybody got something to say. Everybody got something to say. Jalen Hurts to Nick Wright is like Stephen A. Smith and LeBron. I got to talk about this dude to get you people. When I say something about Jalen, look how many people be listening, watching that show. Jalen says this. Look, if I'm not that good, why you can't stop watching me? If everybody's carrying me, remember last year when we was only winning because of Saquon? What you got to say now? Because Saquon ain't having the year he had in 2024. Still the same player, but Jalen said, "Hey man, I ain't new to this. I'm true to this. If Tua's better than me, what's going on in Miami? If Tua's better than me, Mac Jones went undefeated at Alabama. He's doing his thing over there. Right now with San Francisco. What Jalen is saying, I wasn't a first-round pick. Remember that guy that we played against Minnesota? That's who you wanted to be the franchise. I'm the reason why he had to leave. Me. I'm the reason why he left. So what I like the most about Jalen is he rolls to the beat of his own drum. He said, look, man, I'm married. People talk about Travis Hunter. No, if I'm not at work, I'm chilling. You ain't finna find me out and about. I ain't out there trying to be on the scene. Who can see me, how they can see me. You ask any Philadelphia football player currently, hey, man, who's the guy? Oh, that's Jalen. Period. Love AJ, love Devonta Smith, love Dallas Goedert, love Lane Johnson, love Saquon, love Jalen Carter. It is Jalen. Because Jalen could turn it on anytime he wants. I thought y'all said I couldn't throw it. Yeah, but no, I do what the game calls for. I want to win. Y'all want stats, I want wins. Justin Herbert, he got a bunch of stats. How many wins he got that matter? I'll wait. Joe Burrow went to a Super Bowl. They won't even give him an O-line. Lamar Jackson has to be everything for his team. You look at what's happened since he's been hurt. Jared Goff helped change the culture up there in Detroit. When you think about Philadelphia, right? When people talk about, hey man, when did Philadelphia really turn the corner? Well, Coach Peterson was here and it started, but then it kind of went down. Yeah, we got Jalen. This thing. Well, we left the airport. We ain't landed since. We gone. They looking for us. The problem is you got to find us in the sky. They on the ground. So I'm happy for Jalen Hurts because Jalen and Kylie said, y'all think y'all want to? I'm gonna just go on over here to Oklahoma. All I ended up being was a Heisman Trophy runner-up. That's all I did. All I did was go to Oklahoma, a guy that's gun shy and was a high. Ask CD Lamb, would you rather have me or Dak? That's because people say, hey man, you don't think having former teammates matter? When Joe Burrow got drafted, who did he say he wanted? He said he wanted Jamar. They gave him Jamar Chase. When Devonta Smith got drafted, hey, yo, Jalen, man, what about this Devonta? He's nice. I'm just telling y'all, you want a Jalen Hurts mentality, and like Marvin was saying, man, everybody, listen, I ain't for everybody. What you mean? Jalen, they don't like you. They would have to have my number for me to care. If you cannot call me, you think I don't care about some people who got my number. But if you ain't, you got to be close enough to me for me to care, man. I think for Jalen, like I said, there are certain places you got to be built for. Philly is one of them. The Jets and the Giants is one of them. That media market, you have to be built. That's why Eli halfway played the way he did, because he gets scrutiny every day. Every single day of the year, they talk about him. In New York Times, New York Daily News, anything. So for Jalen, he is saying, dude, I'm built to be a Philadelphia Eagle, man. I ain't worrying about what they talking about. But here's the thing. Just come see me in the end, because we going to be there. Most of these teams, they ain't going to be there. We talked about the Colts. Can they sustain it? Because they ain't used to this type of success. That's Indiana Jones. That ain't Andrew Luck. That ain't Peyton Manning. So all I'm saying is, if you don't like the way Jalen played, just beat him. Oh, that's right. They can't. And that's why they really mad. They can't join them. They can only talk trash. But unfortunately, Jalen is not one of these athletes that care so much about what you say that he want to come on your shows. Remember when Anthony, I'll come on your show. Jalen like, nah. Because back in the day, you had athletes like Chris Bosh. She'll go on First Take and talk to Skip Bayless. Let me tell you something. I am not going to give no man or woman the satisfaction of knowing they got under my skin that much to go talk to them in person because of what they said. People going to talk, man. Jalen said, hey, man, you got to buy tickets and subscriptions to see me. To hear from me, you got to be a Philadelphia Eagles beat writer. But I might not be everybody's cup of tea. But outside of Patrick Mahomes, compare all these other greats to me. We talking about regular season great. Oh, okay. Got it. We ain't talking about postseason. So Jalen like, man, I ain't worrying about it, man, because if they don't like me now and I've won one and I outplayed Patrick Mahomes twice, what they going to do if I get another one? When it was – because if Saquon is him, I love Saquon. Saquon would have been MVP, right? Oh, who was MVP? It was Jalen? Jalen Carter? No, Jalen Hurts. Dang. So in the biggest game, I was the best player then, with Patrick Mahomes on the other side, and Travis Kelce, and Andy Reid, and Chris Jones, and McDuffie. Man, I love Jalen Hurts for this reason, and I'm going to keep saying it, man. Look, Jalen Hurts is an acquired taste. Everybody don't like how it tastes, how it looks, right? But he's very, very exclusive because you know how many players got Jordan deals in the NFL? Not many. Jalen does. Don't Jordan only rock with those type of people? Wait a minute, man. What's that guy name? That's a NASCAR driver. His name Bud Wallace. Who he with? Ain't he with Jordan? I'm just saying. Last time Marvin, if you was doing anything, if Michael Jordan called you right now, want to do a Jordan deal, let's talk. Because that's prestige, isn't it? That's brand. I'm just saying, man. So Jordan don't rock with everybody. And as soon as LeBron won his first chip, didn't that commercial go up? As soon as he won his first one, Miami, what happened when Jalen won? Didn't that commercial? Wait a minute. So they predicted this. Hey, dude, this is what's gonna happen. You're gonna win. It's gonna be the MVP. Cue the commercial. I'm just saying. Jalen, keep doing your thing, man.
I mean, you could be a Jalen hater you want. That was good marketing. You know, the Love Hurts thing, that whole rollout was spot on.
Listen, I like it. Listen, I'm from Georgia, and one of my favorite rappers is T.I. T.I. say you can hate if you want to, but you're wasting your time. That's Jalen. You can hate all you want. Hey, listen, and you still got to go to work in the morning. You still got to sit in that traffic. I'm just saying, like, what? We don't like winners for real. To me, that's what it is. Some of us don't
And,
like winners because we ain't
and
never
speaking
won
of
nothing.
winners, Ben, I do want to get into this, but before we get into the the tight end talk and the coaches talk, we've been talking about Indiana Jones right down there. To date, as of right now, Daniel Jones has acquired over $600K in incentive bonuses. He is currently on track to receive another $1 million as long as the Indianapolis Colts make it to the playoffs. We already talked about landing spot being in perfect situations. What Daniel Jones did this offseason is absolutely betted on himself to the point where I think when everything's said and done, he could very well still make I think just under $20 million. With all everyone was all upset at the contract he got there in New York and everything like that. But Daniel Jones absolutely bet on himself this offseason. With could have stayed there in Minnesota. You could obviously would have been getting snaps there obviously with the JJ McCarthy's injury and Carson Wentz being there right now. But like Ben said, he probably looked at that roster and was like, you know what? I think Anthony Richardson ain't ready yet. Let me bet on myself. Sign a contract with them. I think he only signed for a $14 million deal or something to that effect. But he put incentives in there and bet on himself. When everything's said and done, man, like I think what Daniel did both for himself, his agent putting those incentives in his contract to kind of balance out the lower pay scale that he was going to. It just speaks on yourself. Like not all the times that it pays out. A lot of times teams protect themselves from some of this stuff. Those sick guys, they won't let guys get this or that so they don't hit these type of incentives. But Daniel Jones' contract this past all season is just showing you on why you should bet on yourself. Let's start with Marvin on this one.
And I love that. At the beginning of training camp, you look at your roster, you look at the locker room, half them dudes going to be gone. You know what I'm saying? Half them dudes going to be gone. Most dudes who enter into the NFL, are out pretty quickly. That's the norm. It's not the norm to stay and to have a phenomenal career like my man Ben Troupe. The norm is 2-3 years and you out the league like Marv. That's just what it is. You know what I'm saying? So it's really a meritocracy. And, for Daniel Jones, a guy who was the number 6 pick in the draft, the starter in New York, fell from grace quickly, if you will. I don't know if he ever even really, I don't know. I mean, he was Danny Dimes, after that game in Tampa, when he ran for the touchdown and, they beat Tampa in about 2-3 years ago, I forgot when that was. But, since then it's been, he's a bust, he's a that, he's a this. So to see him better himself, to see him successful in that endeavor, and to see him, have leading the number one team in the AFC, kudos for him. You deserve this. It's a storybook type of situation. You know what I'm saying? And then when you show that graphic with Peyton hugging him, I forgot that Peyton and Eli were two of the dudes that they were publicizing who were co-signing his pick to the Giants, because when he got drafted, I was like, who the hell is this guy and why are they taking him number 6? Okay. And then in the same breath, you hear the commentators say, yeah, and Peyton Manning and Eli Manning endorsed this guy. He's been to their camp. They had the same, Eli and him had the same coach in college. And, so I wonder, for Peyton, how strategic it is to have him come back to the Colts where obviously Peyton has strong ties, and this is a guy who he was really high on from the very beginning. So this is really working out to be a storybook ending. That's what it's looking like. A lot of football left, right? A lot of football left. But so far, this is looking like the Daniel Jones show, and betting on himself was the best thing he could have done.
Ben?
Daniel Jones, obviously, when we think about what the National Football League is, this is what happens when you find the right place, right time, right situation for you. Daniel Jones, we act like the team that drafts us is the best place for us. You don't get to decide that. And sometimes it's not the right fit. How is it the right fit when coaches getting fired, offensive coordinators moving on, players getting traded or moving on to free agency? Daniel Jones was there to replace Eli. Eli was there almost 20 years. That's almost 20 drafts that Eli, same guy. So when Daniel Jones looked around, he said, dude, not only do I want to go to the right situation, I want to go to the AFC just in case I meet the Giants again. It's going to be in the Super Duper. Oh, yeah. Now, I'm not saying that's going to happen, but like Marvin said, we watch football for this. Everybody is so quick to write you off. To everybody who got something to say about NFL players, you're judging the best players in the world. You know that, right? Regardless of what they do or don't do, whether they play one snap or 20 years. They be like, he ain't that good. Against other great players in the world, he's not that good. But yes, he is. Everybody's not going to pan out. Everybody going to pan out in college, high school, or pro. But the pros is the creme de la creme. People say things like, you only played. Are you serious? You only played that many years? How many years you played? Oh, I know. Oh, that's right. And so with a Daniel Jones, we looked at the fact that he was betting on himself when he told Brian DeBoll and them, dude, let me help y'all understand something. Do you think I want to be a part of an organization to get rid of Saquon? You know how crazy we look doing that? I'm going. I'll just, before y'all, I'll just leave. Go to Minnesota. The greatest thing happened to Daniel Jones was watching Sam Darnold operate in Minnesota last year. Hey, dude, this is what it looks like. Yeah. Because every great player had one thing in common, a mentor. You had somebody you saw. I like the ones that admit it. Ask Steve Smith Sr. what Musa Muhammad did for him when he was in Carolina, right? That kind of stuff matters. So when I see what Sam Darnold, another guy, another journeyman, another third overall pick right behind Saquon it just didn't work out. So let me go over here to Minnesota. Young boy gets, first round pick. McCarthy gets hurt. I step in. Now I'm in Seattle doing the same thing. If you are Daniel Jones, I guarantee you Sam Darnold said, make sure you – now, when you get the pick, that's free agency. Now, that's when you pick. All right, who you want? I think I want Indy. Really? They got a running game. They got a nice receiver core. They got a nice defense. And they in the division that the best team is Houston. I'm going to Indy. And look what's going on. So I'm not surprised. It's what you said, Marvin. How many quality starts has Daniel Jones had? He had a bunch of them. I just was in New York. Like, I wasn't winning the games like we wanted to. But you know what proved the New York Football Giants had a culture problem? Freaking Saquon. No, we can't win with him. It ain't him, right? So you go to a place where I can win. Listen, before you can win because of me, you got to win in spite of me. Well, they had to win in spite of me in New York. I had to learn how to win. So now they can win games because of him in Indy. And like I said, he's still getting comfortable while he's playing well. So, yeah, man, I'm very impressed by Daniel Jones. I'm not the one to write people off. That's why, not to keep belaboring the point, I don't like when owners come out and say things like they say about Justin Fields. Like, you own the Jets, but who the hell is you, Woody? You don't play no football. I don't get that. People think, hey, man, he's got to be brilliant because he got billions, right? No, he had money to invest. That's what he had. That don't make you brilliant. That means I'm
the other thing that Daniel Jones is doing great down there is you have Jonathan Taylor down there. You got a bell cow where you don't have to throw the ball 30 times a game. So we see it late. We talked about it with the whole Saquon and Jalen thing last year. When you have a running back that's able to get you chunk plays consistently, that you don't sit there and have to throw the ball more than 30 times a game. It helps you as a quarterback because not everything is on your shoulders. I think he is in a perfect situation, a perfect store that there in Indianapolis. And if I'm a Houston Texans fan, I'm pounding the ground right now. Like, what do you have to do to get things going right here? Because they were the team there the last few years in that AFC South. So the league is a strange league. It consumes you. It'll tear you down if you let it. But it is about the situation. And speaking of the situation, we're going to change gears here. We'll quick going from Daniel Jones to it is crazy that the last 4 number 1 overall picks haven't made it through their head coach through the first season. Obviously, Cam Ward and Brian Callahan only lasted 6 games. Caleb Williams got Matt LaFleur fired after 12 games. Frank Reich was fired after 11 games for for Bryce Young, and obviously Urban Meyer left after 13 games with Trevor Lawrence. We talk about this all the time about being in the right situation, about getting some of the right situations in there. Is it crazy though that literally out of the last 4 years, each one of the number one overall picked quarterbacks haven't made it through the first season? You can't do that to a guy. You really can't. If he's not going to be the guy that you want to have teaching your potential franchise quarterback, then you should probably not have him there when it's time to get into the season, instead of changing things up midseason. Then we talk about what we were just talking about having to have X amount of quality starts. Well, you need to have the coaching staff there and the offensive coordinator, and it's so important to have that continuity when you're trying to develop a young quarterback. When you're seeing this on a consistent basis, you're setting these guys back a year. It's almost like that first year is just a throwaway. You can't do that to young quarterbacks. Obviously, me and Ben were making fun of them down in there in Jacksonville because Trevor Lawrence got that insane contract, and he hasn't looked so great over the last 2 seasons. Obviously, he looks like he's having a much better year this year, but I don't know if that coach is it either, because it looks like there's some body language stuff that you could tell that they're not on the same page down there in Jacksonville. So we talk about relationships in sports. Me and Ben have talked about this before. I think the catcher and pitcher relationship is probably one of the more underrated one in sports. But head coach and quarterback is a very, very, very close second. You got to have some consistency here. Let's start off with Marvin. Obviously, you know a little bit about this because of what's going on down there in New York right now. But do you think that this hinders a development of these young quarterbacks when you're consistently, you're barely getting 2 years out of your head coach when you're a young developing quarterback?
Let me tell you this. When you're the number one overall quarterback, you're a guy. You're that guy. You've earned that for the most part. People project and kind of put people in advanced places sometimes, but you've earned that. And the reality is, for as mentally tough as these guys are, and good emotional intelligence and good leadership, they're human beings. And when you put them in a horrific situation with a lame duck coach who hasn't done anything, and you're going to fire this dude, you're expecting to fire and clean house and bring in somebody else, you're failing the kid. You're failing the kid, and you really underestimate how that impacts his psyche. I could only imagine being Trevor Lawrence that year with Urban Meyer, or being Caleb that year with Eberflus. It's a tough situation when you're sitting there with a guy who the media is telling you, your agent's telling you he'll be out of here, and everybody feels that, and it impacts everybody. The NFL really has a process problem. I think it's become too normal to allow the lame duck coach to draft the first round quarterback, knowing that, well, you got 1 year. If you can't get it done in 1 year, you're out of here. Why even have that mentality? That is horrible for the athlete, and it sets the franchise back. These teams, with their genius football gurus, running the show as genius and stuff, they need to figure out a better process and how to really recruit and develop a number one pick. Again, I'm one of the few people who are convinced that Dave Carr wasn't a bust in Houston. We don't know what he was, because he was so shattered mentally from getting sacked 100 times in his rookie year. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you put these young kids in horrific situations. It is impossible. And it kills me how people get so upset when people like Caleb Williams' dad, it links that the dad wants his son somewhere else other than Chicago. Why? Because he didn't want his son to have exactly what he had: 3 head coaches, 3 coordinators in less than 2 years already. Something crazy like that. And it's just, how do you grow in that? How do you feel confident in that? How do you build in that? It's tough to, So I think the NFL has a process problem. These teams need to do a much better job of determining, if they're going to go ahead and draft a quarterback, number one. And if you do you have a plan? And is the leadership in place? Why subject the kid to the lame duck coach who you don't like anyway, who got you to the number 1 pick because your team is sorry? Why do that if you're trying to go somewhere else with it, with the head coaching job? So I hate to see these number 1 picks, in this situation. I've been on this mental thought for years. Since, I hope he goes to a good team, because if not, we'll never know what his true potential is. So, with that, it looks like Chicago, my man Caleb Fidon, they got a good situation going. Ben Johnson in there doing it. It looks like Trevor Lawrence is on the right track. Their team is projected for the playoffs. They look okay. That defense looks amazing. And you hope that these young kids can bounce back from these horrific situations that these teams put them in. That's my take.
Ben.
Some of these things are ridiculous for a lot of reasons. I blame these GMs. The GMs are the one picking these coaches. Let me get this straight. Eberflus, I know what I think he's the defensive coordinator right now for the Dallas Cowboys, if I'm not mistaken. He was a defensive-minded coach that didn't know what he was doing when it comes to the offensive side of the football. Right? Brian Callahan should have never been hired for the Titans. Point blank, period. Like, what? Like, Brian Callahan, like, here's the thing, right? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, you got to do radio up there in Nashville. They go like, Brian Callahan, yeah, we got to go on live radio and talk about it. The new head coach, that's not, and the most egregious that no one talks about enough, and I'm going to keep saying it. Urban Meyer is the worst NFL coach in NFL history, period. That has nothing to do with what he did in college. But that's the problem, right? They thought he did it in Florida. He did it at Ohio State. That's college. Where you run everything. Where everything falls under you. Urban Meyer was questioning seasoned NFL assistant coaches. What is your resume? You know how many coaches want to look at Urban Meyer like, who the hell is you? What? Are you questioning me? Number one, didn't you just say Tim Tebow here as a tight end? That's all I needed to know. You brought Tim Tebow in to play tight end, and you questioning me. Chris Doyle, the guy from the freaking strength coach from Iowa who nobody would touch. That's who you hired. I think sometimes with these head coaches, I'm not gonna respect you just because you got a head coach job in the NFL. You could stink at it. You could be the worst. And you know who has to listen to you because of your position, not what you actually do. I respect if you a head coach. You the head coach, man. But that don't make you good at it. And isn't it crazy? If I'm better at my job than you are at coaching, but I have to listen to you. I'm not here to be insubordinate. But if you don't think the head coach is respected because of his position and not what he does, look at Miami. You think they respect Mike McDaniels? They like. You can tell the players who respect the coach. First and foremost, we are grown men. We grown men. Hey, man, that head coach is an alpha male. Who you think he coaching? Hello? Who you think? Do you think you get to this level having an okay-ish, happy-go-lucky, golly gosh darn mentality? This is the league. So when it comes to these head coaches, when it came out, Urban Meyer just got hired as a head coach in Jacksonville. You was like, is this real? Yeah. Well, what? Because I think, and you know what? All these people that got so much to say about these players, they was real kind of hush-hush when it came to Urban, huh? Didn't really want to say nothing. No, Urban stunk in the league now. In the league? No. You know who else wasn't that good in the league? Nick Saban. He was all right. He wasn't good. And that's what people don't want to say. I go, hey, Nick, yeah, when you talk about greatness, are you talking about in Alabama and LSU? You ain't talking about Miami. Because Wasn't it Nick Saban who had Drew Brees in the building? And the trainer said, "Hey man, I wouldn't trust his ankle." And he went to New Orleans, and that's the only reason why Sean Payton can talk trash to Russell Wilson. Come on, man. Like, ain't that crazy? We act like these players don't make these coaches become legends. No, it's these coaches. You think, yeah, where's Bill Belichick? Oh, he's in North Carolina. Man, let's stop it. A coach definitely needs, the player definitely needs a coach. I'm not acting like we don't need these coaches. But Marvin, Steven, how hard is it to coach the best players in the world?
It's definitely not easy because
I'm not saying we are the easiest to get along with and deal with, right? I'm not saying that, right? But a player has to reinvent himself every week, not every year. I got to do it every week in practice in the games. You mean to tell me I worked as hard as I could to get to the league and my head coach is Urban Meyer? That is disrespectful on so many levels. And then he's out there kicking kickers. Didn't he literally kick the kick? I would have beat. And that stuff gets on my. I'm on here on national radio saying, "Ben, you think Tim Tebow can play tight end?" I'm like, "Is this a real question, sir?"
Now, actually, before we switch subjects on the Hall of Fame portion of this, I want to ask your guys a question because you just brought up something about Urban Meyer kicking the kicker, right? About a few weeks ago, we had another Deshaun Jackson situation. You running in for a game-winning touchdown, drop the ball, don't get the score, and Jonathan Gannon got up in his player's face, grabbed him by his jersey, yelling, screaming at him, where he was fined by the team. He had to make a public apology. I gotta ask you guys this. You guys are players. Obviously, if you did something egregiously wrong along those lines, you want to be held accountable for it, right? You're gonna hold these folks accountable for all this.
When we have been held accountable for, it would be national news. What? Well, let me get this straight. A player grabbed the coach because I was excited because something happened. They're gonna make it about more than football. It ain't even football gonna be, man, they're gonna take it so far because he grabbed him twice though. He grabbed him twice. Now hold it. Now I get it. Coaches get excited. I get it that adrenaline is pumping. Did you just grab me? Like this, and look at how much professionalism the player showed. Look at it. Yeah, you're right, coach. No, the hell you not. Now, do players grab other players? Yeah, that happens all the time. Like, hey man, we need to get right. I don't think we gave enough attention to it because listen, he made a boneheaded play. He's gonna have to. That's gonna be like his butt fumble. You're gonna have to hear about it. You the player that did this, right? Yeah, but I don't get how a public apology ain't enough. Once again, I'm gonna keep saying this. We are men first. I'm a grown man, man. Are you? It makes me look like not a grown man when the coach does me like that. What you grabbing me for? Like, and look. It took everything in that player not because we think about this. Just take football out of it. If another grown man grabs you, what you gonna do? See, sometimes you don't think these coaches know where they at. You don't think these coaches know how much leeway they got? I had a coach tell me that. Ben, look, if I saw you out in person and in public, whatever, I'm not doing all that. But this is a professional setting. Absolutely, coach. So I'm gonna say some things that I can get away, do some things I can get away with. Like Sean Payton talking trash, telling Brian DeBoer, hey man, I wanted you to play Russ. You think that's funny? You think that's funny, Sean? But he knows this is a coach talking to another coach about a player. Nope. This is a grown man talking to another grown man about another grown man. Would you say that to me if it wasn't a football setting? No. Would you have grabbed me? No. If you can't do it in a public setting, if we ain't professionals, you can't do it in a professional setting. You can't do that to me. And now it happened, and I appreciate the young man for keeping his poise. But Marvin, once again, Steven, you out with your lady. We out. Dude, just grab you. Are you gonna say, sir, did I do something to offend you? No, it ain't gonna be none of that. It might be some of that when the police get there. But I'm like, dude, he grabbed me. And all I'm saying is, I am not acting like the coach didn't realize what he really did, because that's what social media does. Used to be a time you can't go back and look at the tape. We can look at it a million times. But Marvin, I'm just saying, when you saw it, first it goes from, dang, I know that young man. Did he just grab? You forgot all about him dropping the ball. I said, did he just grab him? He grabbed him twice. And the guy who's trying to hold the coach is kind of scared to pull the coach back. So I'm just saying, I mean, it's over with now. It just bothers me that the player always has the error on the side of professionalism. Can't really say what you want to say. Definitely can't react the way you want to react. But the coach, he's going to pay his $100,000 fine. And he's going to go and keep coaching. The player, if the player would have retaliated by grabbing him, oh my God, could you imagine what they would have said about him? He just dropped the ball. Now he's grabbing the coach. No, I'm grabbing a man who grabbed me first. That's what I'm doing. Oh, we got a uniform on. Oh, that's right. I'm not supposed to do that. Well, what is he supposed to? He made a mistake. No, I made the mistake, and he grabbed me twice on national TV. So I don't know. It just bothered me that we didn't really go into
your thoughts on this before we move on to the next one. Obviously, it's
Yeah, listen, I'll be honest. I remember Latrell Sprewell choking out PJ Carlesimo. I remember. No, hold on. I remember Kevin Green choking out one of his coaches on the sideline. Let me tell you like this. I'm all for accountability. I love that football is a man's game, played by men, coached by men, and I know we're opening that up, but I grew up with the 1970s NFL players as a dad, so my mentality, how I look at the game is a little bit different, little bit archaic maybe, but I like that. I like the level of accountability. I like the idea of two grown men, you being able to look each other in the eye in close space and have words and it just be what it is. You know what I'm saying? I like that. I come from that. I believe in that. I preach that. I got my son here to tell you that he's living in that right now. Okay. With that said, you don't put your hands on a player. Are you stupid? Are you dumb or are you stupid? Which one is? Are you dumb or are you stupid? If that player would have choked that dude out on the spot, it'd be on the coach. You know what I'm saying? So that there is Ben summed it up. Ben said it all right. He hit it on the head. You know what I'm saying? But like I said, I remember Kevin Green choking out his coach when he played for the Panthers. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, I get that. You don't be in these dudes' faces. You don't do that. There's a way to go about this. I don't mind grown men having words. I don't mind accountability. I do not mind that at all. And I myself in college more so, but when I made a mistake, I had a young Hugh Jackson who had a lot to say about it. You know what I'm saying? When I was in college, I had an older OG Charles White who had a lot to say about it. So I come from that. I'm all for it, man. But you don't put hands on no grown man. Are you out of your mind?
I wasn't a fan of him gripping up, put his hand. Like, use your words, dude. Be like, guess what, man? Guess what? You ain't getting no snaps this week. You playing special teams. How about that? We gonna
that's all. We got sons.
Use your words. Do not put your hands on another grown man. Because then, like you said, if he would have went back at Jonathan Gannon, put his hands on him, choked him out, whatever, they ban him from the league. He's terrible.
Oh, they would have went crazy.
It'd have been pitchforks out and the whole nine.
Yeah, I mean, we got sons, man. Like I said, my son play football right now. I want his coaches to coach him hard. I want them to coach him extremely hard. And my son play quarterback. I said, look, son, listen, you being my son, us having the same name, don't grant you any special privileges. The best players will play. I said, but I would let that coach say, you see how I'm talking to my son? Yeah, that's how I want you to coach him. Just coach him hard. Yeah, don't touch him. Please don't touch him. Because if you touch him, it makes me think you think it's okay to touch him. So if you think it's okay to touch my son, you have made it okay for me to touch you, because I am going to touch you if you touch my son. I'm just telling you. And think, Marvin, because at the end of the day, right, your son is your son, and even we practice restraint with our own children that came from us. But if your son say, Daddy, man, I mean, what he told me was, I'm not that good, and he pushed me, you're going to say, wait. He did what? He pushed you. And you're going to say, son, listen to me, listen. Did he put his hands on you? Yeah. The rest of the conversation don't matter. We'll talk about the rest. Where he at? Oh, he's still on the field. We got to go talk. Because I'm going to say what my daddy would say, what your dad would say. What your dad would say, Steve? Tell me, show me what you did to my son. What was the truth? No. Just show me. Because I want to make sure it's warranted. Sometimes it might be. Did my son? That's all I'm saying. What happened is, I am old school myself, man. I think hard coaching is the only thing that works.
Yeah,
that stuff works. But that coach would not have done that any other place. Because guess what? Nick Saban is a fire.
That was on a practice field. Oh man.
It's just the fact. It's just the fact that too, you got that now. D-line coaches and O-line, they're a little bit. You got to coach a lot of people. You got to build that up. Now, if this is something we do on the practice field and y'all just saw it in person, I get that because sometimes that happens. But if you don't touch anybody, and then you like, I guarantee you that private conversation was like, man, I apologize. That player looking at him like this, and he said, Coach, you know that, don't do that again, bro. Don't do that because that's not football. Show ain't NFL football. But other than that, hey man, it's over with. It happened because here's the thing: if you're gonna grab somebody, grab the crazy player. Now, if you grab the craziest player on the team, okay, it's something to you, but you ain't gonna do that. Mike Tomlin,
I want to see somebody grab Warren Sapp like that.
I'm just saying, if you grab the crazy player,
somebody like that. If you do that, all right, you got a couple.
Why didn't Mike Tomlin grab James Harrison? Why didn't he grab him before? Because he know.
But speaking of coaches, obviously we've been talking about Hall of Fame because we're getting closer to nominations and stuff like that, and the potential candidates for coaches to come out. This list is insane. How are this many good coaches still not in the Hall of Fame? Obviously Bill Belichick just got on there. Tom Coughlin, Mike Holmgren, absolutely. Chuck Knox, absolutely. Dan Reeves, Marty Schottenheimer, Mike Shanahan. How are these guys not already in the Hall of Fame? And this is something that goes back to what we were talking about prior to getting on here. Man, I don't care what sport it is. We're talking football, baseball, whatever. There is a log jam of guys that need to get in. I think both sports should have classes over the next 5 years that have no less than 10 members go in, because this is starting to get really ridiculous. That list of guys on there may have been 2 or 3 guys that the casual fan wouldn't have known. But wow. All right, I'm going to start off with Marvin here. Obviously, the process is getting more real for you as your dad's on this year's list. But what are your thoughts on the list I just pulled up? I'm going to pull it up again real quick.
Yeah. So what jumps out to me, Belichick. Listen, in a sport where the main metrics is championships, Belichick. Let's go ahead and stop playing games. We're looking at arguably one of the greatest coaches to ever coach the game. As a contributor, GM, defensive coordinator, head coach, the fact that he's attached to 10 championships total, but 6 as a head coach. That number speaks for itself. You can't deny that even if he had Tom Brady, which is relevant, and he had other players and other coaches, which he had. He is part of the common denominator in that. You can't argue that. He should be in there right now. I look at a guy like Coughlin, who had a very average Eli Manning, to be honest with you, who Eli played great in 2 playoff runs. Coughlin has a couple championships, and he beat one of the greatest dynasties in the history of pro sports in the Patriots. And then you look at my man Reeves, not Dan Reeves, 49ers coach.
George Seifert.
Shanahan. You look at Shanahan, right?
Yeah.
Mike Shanahan, without question, is a Hall of Fame coach. So I'm starting out with the guys who actually have some rings. I don't think, Chuck Knox obviously as well then. But Chuck Knox is in Seattle, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. No, he ain't got no ring. He ain't got no ring, so he can wait. He can wait. But no, I'm saying he can wait. I'm saying. But Shanahan, you need to go. Get up in there. Tom Coughlin, who I'm not a huge fan of, but I respect his style, old school dude. And then, of course, the great Bill Belichick need to be up in that Hall of Fame. The logjam is real. The reality is you have a lot of people who've committed their lives to this game, and they're extraordinary. They're very good. But Dion says this is the Hall of Fame. It's not the Hall of Good, not the Hall of Average. And there's a difference between people. There's a difference when you look at people's resumes and their careers between this guy and that guy. And at the end of the day, I think a lot of people, especially in the day of heavy marketing, we have more information, more casual fans know more players, know more coaches. They know more about the game now just because of the way we market this thing. So for me, it does start off with the leaders in the room who led their team to championships, or in the case of the three that I mentioned, multiple championships.
Ben, your thought on that list?
I mean, as you mentioned, like Mike Shanahan, Bill Belichick, Tom Coughlin, like him or don't like him. Tom Coughlin went to 2 Super Bowls, and he got those things. I mean, Marty Schottenheimer coached a long time. He coached a long time. I think he'll get in because of his influence on the game, him and guys like Dan Reeves. But what I don't get is this. What are you making people wait for? If Bill Belichick has to wait, there's a problem. I know you talk about how many years you've been retired from the league and all these different things. These beat writers, these sports writers, that's too much. That's too much power for them. So you get to write about the game and the players, and then you got a Hall of Fame vote. Well, what if you didn't like him? What if you like how he coached? What if you like how he did interviews, how he treated you? Was he a Hall of Famer? Yes or no? And when it comes to coaches, you're gonna know, just like with players, oh man, I mean, he was good, but he wasn't. So I don't like that the beat writers they got their own little fraternity of how they go about doing stuff. This goes back to, and if you think I'm lying, I want to say when Lamar Jackson won his second MVP, you get 50 votes. He had 49. The one vote he didn't get, beat writer in Buffalo. And I give you one guess who he voted for. It's stuff like that when it comes to these coaches. So, number one, Hall of Fame means, man, I was one of the greatest to ever do it. It shouldn't come down to a beat writer who didn't like me as to why I got the weight. I ain't really like his coaching style. I think he didn't use his players right. Well, he won. He won a lot. And to be head coaches on multiple teams, to have influences on multiple teams, I mean, Mike Shanahan ain't a Hall of Famer yet. The Mike Shanahan that coached Denver, John Elway, Shannon Sharp, right? Christian McCaffrey's dad, Ed McCaffrey. What are we doing? Terrell Davis. This the part of football I don't like again, man. We talking about this. Well, why don't you let it? It's like when the college football playoff committee used to vote the team. They used to put the teams in. They never told us how they voted. They sit behind this little glass and you can see them waving, but you don't see. No, they should make these people tell us who did what, just like we was on a jury. Voter, beat writer number one. Who did you?
Oh, man.
Why not? Because to me, people put too much into this game. Like I said, we're going to keep saying this about your dad, Marvin. Number one, dude, who the hell is y'all to not say what? No, he was him. To ask if a person was a Hall of Famer, ask the people that played against him. And if they lean back in their chair, like, oh, yeah, that dude. Because I'm sorry, you are what the player said you were. We ain't got no reason to lie. Now, we biased. We going to hate a little bit. But if you was him, whether we like you or not. Right? When it comes to these coaches, it is subjective. Bill Belichick, that's not subjective. Tom Coughlin, that's not subjective. Mike Shanahan, that's not subjective. That's hate. That's hating. That's all that is. And if you call it something else, you a hater yourself. Like, well, Ben, you don't know if he what. You don't know if he what. Dan Marino's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he? Yeah. So it ain't about Super Bowls. See? I thought with the quarterback was a Super Bowl. Lies. Well, with Dan, he was threw for a bunch of yards. That's why Phillip Rivers gonna have a shot to get in. That's the only way he's going to get in. Coaches that had to deal with free agency, that had to deal with ever-changing conditions on the field. I'm still looking at Tom Coughlin in that playoff game. I don't know how cold it was. His face
he looked like an apple. He was so red.
It was Tom. Listen, you might not like Tom Coughlin's way of coaching, but it got him 2 super dupers. Now that had a lot to do with Michael Strahan and Jason Pierre-Paul and Justin Tuck and Asa Ura. The MVP for both games was Eli.
Yep.
So, I hope we go to the competition committee and we change stuff like this. Some of this stuff is outdated, like you have not seen, and this is one of them. Hopefully, they do the right thing, to put the right guys in. But you want to know why? By the time they get in, they done with it, because it's like you making me wait because you can make me wait. I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Now, moving on from Hall of Fame talking football, we got one sport about to end and another one just about to begin. Obviously, the table has been set for this fall Winter Classic, and I think the story of this one, it has to be Vladdy Guerrero Jr. I mean, he absolutely did his thing and took something from the Seattle fans that it looked like they were a team of destiny and couldn't put the Blue Jays away. And now we have a Blue Jays and Dodgers World Series. A lot of people feel that some of the comments that are coming out of the Dodgers that they're ruining baseball. They've done this, they've done that. Listen, they're always going to be one of those big market teams. They're always going to be in the conversation. When we're having it, just like the Yankees are, they're one of those teams that you're always going to have these discussions about. That being said, we have Toronto, we have LA. I absolutely want to see the Toronto Blue Jays win it, not only because of Vladimir Guerrero. That Toronto team is like king of the nepotism in baseball. You got Bo Bichette on there. You got Calvin Biggio over there. I would love to see guys like that be able to win championships, just like we've seen this past year here in Philadelphia. You got Jeremiah Trotter Jr. here. His dad fell short a bunch of times trying to win championships. He was able to do it in his rookie year. I'd like to see the Toronto Blue Jays do it, not only because obviously the Dodgers done beat the brakes off of my Phillies, but the fact that I like to see parity when it comes to it. Is it nice that the Dodgers made it? Absolutely. If you think about it, the Dodgers have been involved in more championships over the past 10 years in baseball than they probably have ever been in their existence. And that's not to take anything away. They've built a great program out there. They've already won a World Series last year. I would love to see Toronto put it down to a Game 7 and put it on the Los Angeles Dodgers. That's the homer in me. Do I think the Dodgers could win? They very well could wind up sweeping the Blue Jays right out of there en route to back-to-back World Series championships. I hope that doesn't happen. I hope the fans of Toronto are able to kind of relive the early 90s championships that they had out there when they had a very good team. We'll see how it plays out. Let's start with Ben on this one. Ben, what are your feelings on this World Series, brother?
I mean, listen. Baseball is so blessed, right? To be able to have this type of World Series, right? You talk about all the stars over there with Toronto. Let me tell you what they finna run into. They finna run into a pitching staff that they love big time hitters. The Dodgers the Dodgers are gonna the Dodgers are gonna test the age-old question: what wins baseball, pitching or hitting? Now, the Dodgers got both pitchers and hitters too now. Make no mistake about it. I mean, I'm just saying, they got this guy over there with the Dodgers. I don't think we've ever seen a player like this. I mean, he's like a freaking mutant. He can throw, he can pitch, he can hit. But here's the thing about baseball that I appreciate. Toronto Blue Jays, they said it was going to be one of the best teams they ever had. You're talking about Vlad Jr., those guys. The Dodgers keep you honest. I don't care who you are. You got to deal with us to win it. We might not win it, but you got to beat us to win it. That's what the Dodgers have become. And obviously, with a World Series like this, I think for the Toronto Blue Jays, don't play with the Dodgers like that. The Dodgers will get you out of there. But I think if you are Vlad Jr. and the Blue Jays, you're saying, dude, is this going to be a moment we happy to be here, or we going to really make this thing a memory? We're going to make this thing a moment. I do hope it goes 7. I do, because I think it's good for baseball for one reason and one reason only. The evil empire known as the Yankees are not in it. The evil empire is gone. Every year, 2019, it's our job to get rid of the freaking Yankees because I guess I got so sick of dealing with them growing up as a kid. Yes, I'm a Braves fan, and yes, I am biased as hell. But when it comes to let me just go ahead and put that out there. But I think for the Dodgers, what the Dodgers do is if you're spending money and it doesn't work, who cares? But it works with the Dodgers. It ain't working with the Yankees. It's working with the Dodgers though, right? And it's working in a way to where even the other teams not named Toronto saying, dude, they good, man. Like, I don't care how good of a season you have. It's this team out there in LA. It's another team in LA. And well, we don't really talk about them that much because only in baseball. I love Mike Trout. But good God. Like baseball is the only sport that the best player in it don't even go to the playoffs. Well, now Mike Trout is the best player now, but for about 5-6 years he was. But I'm looking forward to it. I knew that when it comes to the Dodgers go, look, man, y'all can do all y'all doing. The Dodgers are a mainstay. They have been around, and I'm talking about now, not in the past. They just know how to get it done, man. And I'm always part to the Dodgers because they got our first baseman to break. They got Freddie Freeman, man. Freddie, free that man. Freddie high waist himself, Freeman. He out there still, hitting home runs. But I am happy for baseball, and I think the way you introduce people to baseball is in the World Series. Don't introduce them to it through the regular season because they don't know. Now you got a shot. Vlad Jr., if you're listening, y'all better take advantage of this because if y'all expecting to just be there every year, which y'all got a team to do it, I don't know. Because like I said, I think it's going to be a great World Series, but that pitching for the Dodgers, they nasty, man. Like they nasty good, and so yeah. but I will be watching, man. Like I say, if the Yankees would have made it to the World Series, I'm not watching. I'm turning my cable off. I'm not watching. But they didn't make it. So Aaron Judge and company, y'all keep on hitting 2,000 home runs a season and not making it. But no, man, it should be an incredible Seattle Mariners fans. Hey man. It happens. That's the part I'm a Braves fan. You talking about a team that had some of the best pitchers ever in the 90s with John Smoltz and company and Tom Glavine to win one World Series. All that pitching. So I will be watching, man. I hope it goes 7. I hope it goes 7.
What about you, Marvin? How you feeling on this Winter Classic matchup?
Yeah, I'm gonna make it real sweet and simple. As a young man, as a man who grew up in New York and LA, my two favorite teams are the Dodgers and the Yankees. With that said, I'm a casual fan. Baseball is, for me, it's like my top 10 favorite sports are football, and then number 11 is basketball, and then number 12 is baseball. What I'm looking forward to seeing is this Kendrick Lamar and Drake Part 2. That's what I want to see something pop off. Not like us, but to be playing at every Dodger game. I want to see if Drake show up to a game in LA. I want to see if Drake show up to a game.
Oh, that would be beautiful. That would. If he does show up, though, Marvin, you know Kendrick ain't fun. Hey, yo, Kendrick, he in the building. Hey, man, I'll be there in 30 minutes.
Right. So look, this is what I'm looking forward to.
So obviously, Marvin wants another Dodger World Series.
Absolutely, let's go. LA stand up. Dodgers. That's my take, Steve.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm with Ben. I want it to go 7, and whoever happens to win happens to win. I don't have no horse in this race. I'm not gonna hate on the Dodgers just because they knocked my Phillies out. One last part of that baseball question. Obviously, a lot of questions surrounding my Phillies. Are they window close? Because obviously, Kyle Schwarber contract's up. JT Realmuto's contract's up. Ranger Suarez's contract's up. They got 3 big guys that they got to sign, and they're already one of the top 5 highest salaries in Major League Baseball. I'm gonna say it. The window's closed. It's closed. They had to do it this year. I know they brought back the manager.
It's not closed. It's not closed, Stevie. You are trying to avoid. No, you were trying to avoid saying what everybody wants to say. It's the curse, baby. It's the Bryce Harper curse. It is. Listen, Bryce Harper was with the Nationals. The first year he goes to Philly, what do the Nationals do? They win it all. Goes over to Philly. The Bryce Harper is an incredible baseball player. But what I'm saying is so much attention. Look, y'all had an MVP candidate this year, you know what I'm saying, on the roster. I never like to say something that's close. It's just the team in Philly.
They need to revamp that roster. I told you obviously, having Bryce there, you have Dave Dombrowski go out basically saying he don't know if Bryce is an elite player, which I think is probably the most ridiculous comment I've ever heard out of a general manager in any of these sportsmen were referring to one of their superstars. But you have to be smart with this. You can't overpay for Kyle Schwarber. You absolutely have to bring JT Realmuto back, regardless of what his bat is or isn't. We've already talked about that catcher and pitcher relationship, but listen, unless they do some major things this offseason and move one of those bigger contracts, whether it be a Bryce Harper, whether it be a Trey Turner, whether it be an Aaron Nola, something to that effect, I don't see them being able to get over the hump that and get back into the World Series and win one, not just get there like they did in 2022. So I think it's close, but that's just me. Maybe it's the Negadelphian in me. Maybe it's I'm just irritated with the inconsistency of this team. I already said that the bats go cold in the postseason, and they did it again this postseason. So
I know how to tell you, Steven. I just let you have your list. When you was going through talking about y'all regulars, how well y'all was playing, I said, why is Steven doing this to himself? He knows what's going to happen with the Philadelphia. And the reason I'm trying to tell you, man, this is what happened when it comes to certain. It's almost like, listen, Marvin, there is not going to be a bigger repper of the New York football Jets than Marvin, right? Marvin be talking to people, yeah, and Marvin, and they drive, and Marvin go, man, these Jets, man, they go. It's like I lived in West New York, New Jersey. I could see MetLife from where I live. And what I realized real quick is the most disrespectful thing you can ask a Jets fan is who do you root for? Because you're trying to say, do you root for the Giants? They don't play that. Like to them, they don't look like a Giants fan. For real, they'll say, what do you mean? They'll say, you think because I got on a red shirt, you think I root for the Giants? I'm like, dude, I don't know. It's a Jets fan and a Giants fan do not mix. It's like the
right.
NFC.
That's like oil and water right there, bro.
Oh yeah, they don't. And like I said, they're that's like an insult. The Jets fan to say, what you looking at? You think I'm a Giants fan, son? What? Do I don't even know you? What you looking at me like that for? I'm looking in your direction. You root for the Giants? No. So yeah, man.
So we're gonna get one more last one in here. Obviously, Marvin saying basketball is kind of his second love right there. So I want to start off with Marvin on this one. I want to get your thoughts on this. Obviously, Rich Paul had another ridiculous comment come out of his mouth. When LeBron James retires, that the NBA ratings will drop and suffer. Listen, I love LeBron, just like most do. He is a generational talent. He is one of the stars of the league, but I do not think that he is going to make the NBA ratings drop that harshly when he leaves. I think he will make room for some of these other young stars that are coming up. I think everyone will celebrate the career that is LeBron James, but I don't think it's going to drop that hard, honestly. But that's just me. Marvin, what are your thoughts on Rich Paul's comment on that?
I don't take him literally. I think, the bigger point maybe he's saying or he's feeling is LeBron James, he's in the conversation when it comes to like greatness and publicity and who do we know, he's in the conversation of, Kobe and Michael Jordan, because when we talk about the GOAT, and we've only really started having that conversation, since really LeBron came into the league, has anyone really challenged Michael like that with him and Kobe at least. So, I think what Rich Paul is just saying is, we're losing one of the greats of the game. You don't get a guy like this very often, and we will be missing him when he's gone. And, Steph Curry is special, and I think he deserves to be in a certain conversation as well. Outside of that, I don't see anybody else in this league who has the stature, the resume, of a LeBron James, Steph Curry. So he's right. The league will take a hit in some ways, but listen, they got so many young stars now. The NBA has done a very good job, I think, of promoting the global game. We got global stars. We have so many NBA narratives going on, players being traded, talking junk, drama. There's enough interest to keep the casual fan and the hardcore fan going. But Rich Paul is right. Again, we are losing one of the greats. We are losing somebody who's in a class by himself. And, I'm a guy, I'm a basketball guy, kind of, but I'm really a LeBron guy. I like LeBron off the court. That's the guy who I kind of like. I'm not with some of the stuff he's done in regards to like Stephen A. Smith. I think he can handle some situations much better. But you know something? I think he's handled his whole situation amazingly. I think considering where he comes from and what he's had and the resources and just what his life has been, I don't think anybody in the world has been as successful as LeBron James, considering what was up against him and what was expected of him. Okay, this dude rose above expectations. Okay, he not just met him, he rose above them. So I understand what Rich Paul is saying, but trust me, you got some NBA fiends in New York and all over the world that are going to keep watching this game, regardless of who's playing and who's not.
All right, Ben, your response on this real quick as we're down to the last 3 minutes here.
But yes, I do think it's going to suffer some, but I think even what Marvin was saying, we're going to miss LeBron, man. Like, you have to sift through things that you don't like about him and really look at what he never cheated the game. This how long LeBron been in the NBA. Y'all see this? Y'all see that? That boy was in the league when they had a flip phone. That's how long he's been there. Back when we used to call each other at home, when we had home phone. LeBron has said, look, most of these players came up going to my basketball camps. Most of these players came up, idolizing me, wanting to be me, and I'm still here. Yes, we gonna miss him because we've grown to see him play so much to where we finding ways to criticize everything he does. But LeBron's story is one of the greatest stories ever told in sports, ever. When you look at what he's done and what he's doing, we talk about LeBron like he's gone. No, he's still here. He's literally still here. LeBron is out there saying, man, I remember when I played against your dad. My son is on there he is. That's Bronny. Oh, man, I remember little LeBron, keep doing what you think. Keep doing your thing, man. And like I said, nepotism is to make your name so great that your sons and daughters don't have to do nothing but be themselves. That's so I'm not mad at LeBron for that. I wish I could get my son a job because of our last name. That's what we're trying to do. You want somebody, hey, Bronny. So yeah, Rich Paul is doing what he's supposed to do. Is saying talk about LeBron in a high regard. But when LeBron does come out and finally say, "This is my last ride," when he finally said, "This is my last year," we gonna be like, "Dang, man, this is it." But LeBron is still starting, man. At 41 years, or soon to be 41 years old, he ain't coming off the bench yet. So he still got about 3 or 4 more left. So, and Bryce is coming. So we'll see.
We'll see. But as we get ready to wrap this one up, obviously, always a pleasure catching up with you guys, and haven't got a chance to get to this because normally we really run it up against it. Gonna show Ben some love here. Obviously, for people who don't know, Ben has his own book here. We gotta show Ben some love. So if you guys are into reading some stories of our professional athletes, make sure you go out and look for a copy of Uncommon and Unfinished. Ben has a book out there. Wanted to show him some love. We haven't been able to get to it the last few weeks because literally we ran it up against to the very last minute being on air here. Guys, make sure you're locked in. We are within 800K viewers on the YouTube channel, so please make sure you like, subscribe, follow, share. Tune into the episodes. Obviously, we are a little long-winded here on the South Florida Tribune, but continually growing, continuing to put out great content. Obviously, Marvin Powell's here with us. Tuesday nights for Inside the Pigskin. Today he's on here with me for the Fan in the End, and he also does another program Wednesday evenings here on the South Florida Tribune. We're going to continue to have fun here. Ben, last thoughts as we're down to the last 30 seconds.
Man, always a pleasure being on with you guys, man. Make sure you keep God first, second, and third, man. Make sure you tell your loved ones that you love them, man. And to the family of Doug Martin, man, I mean, my condolences go out to you guys, man. The muscle hamster, he will be sincerely missed.
He will be missed. We will miss you guys. Talk to you guys next week.